everybody. It's Jeff here from Jazz Wire. Welcome to the guided listening this week. This week we're going to be listening to Ornette Coleman. I want to say this is the first Ornette Coleman that we've done a guided listening on. And the tune Ramblin from the album Change of the Century. Really, really important album that came out in 1960. And when we hear it today, maybe it doesn't sound, so groundbreaking, but of course, in the 60 years, I can't believe it, between then and now, some of those sounds sort of became normalized, if that's the way to put it. Ornette Coleman on the saxophone, Don Cherry on trumpet. There's no harmony instrument. It's Billy Higgins on the drums and Charlie Haden on bass. And this tune, Ramblin, it's blues based. Before we go any further, by the way, please subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. I just want to be able to stay in touch with you. If you like the sort of things we're doing on the YouTube channel, you can always find me, by the way, on Facebook and Instagram. Please like and subscribe and all those good things there. And the whole point of that is so that we can stay in better touch. And when there's new things coming out, you hear about them. All right. So Ramblin', I remember wanting to learn this and playing it with one of my groups, and it was sort of a catchy melody, as I recall. So I, went to write it out, and I was having the hardest time figuring out what the heck they were doing for the solo section. The melody is the melody. However long the melody takes, we write it out, and if it takes 12 measures or 16 measures, that's the melody. But now when it comes time to solo in any sort of quote-unquote traditional jazz, let's just call it jazz, we know what the playing field is. When you're playing football, when you're playing rugby, when you're playing cricket, synchronized swimming, doesn't matter what it is, we know the shape of the area in which we do the thing. When you're synchronized swimming, you're not allowed to get out and just go walk around. That's probably some sort of penalty. Can't step over the white line, right? All those things. We have to know what the shape of the playing field is. And that's, that's a very important thing. So in most jazz, that's the way it is. But of course, Ornette Coleman was blowing that stuff up. He wasn't the first, I don't think, or the only, but the idea of freeing things up. So the fascinating thing in this tune is there's sort of two parts to the solo section. There's one where we hear Charlie Haden kind of strumming on the bass, and it's this sort of Americana blues kind of thing. And that's sort of 16 measures, and they alter between that and then a more traditional 12-measure blues structure where it's now walking. He's walking and Billy Higgins is swinging. So they're going back and forth between two different solo forms, 16-measure blues, 12-measure blues, 16-measure blues, 12-measure blues. Awesome, except for that's not what they're doing. Damn it. Yeah, so they are creating the form on their own. So if we think about Robert Johnson, if we think about rural blues, we think about blues before it was codified into 12 measures or 8 measures or whatever it became, a chorus of blues, a verse, would take as long as it took. The words, when the words came out, when that stanza was done, we're done. So in rural blues, there would be a 9-measure chorus. And then there would be an 11.5-measure chorus. And then the next one was 12, and the next one was 13. So over time, when blues became more urban, when it wasn't just a person and their guitar, when it was a band, we had to decide, like, hey, when are we moving to the 4 chord? Let's do it after 4 measures. And so things became codified and the playing field became set, right? If you're just a bunch of kids playing kickball, it doesn't exactly matter where in and out is, but of course kids know, okay, yeah, down, where the fence post is, that's out, right? We all have done that. So let's listen to this, and there's so much fascinating playing by Charlie Haden, how Billy Higgins is right in the mix with creating this form. So they're creating the form on the fly. It's really hard to do, and this band, more than any, probably did it fantastically. So here we go, Ornette Coleman and Ramblin'. So you're hearing maybe some squirreliness, like intonation, things exactly not together. And that was part of the aesthetic. It really does sound like folk music, doesn't it? Especially that strumming on the bass. And right there was a weird phrase length. should come in here. And when I say should, that would be a traditional 4-measure phrase. Ready, and. Okay, that's the way they did it that time. Here's the beginning of the solo. This one was 14. I said 16, but that was 14. I think these swing ones are all 12. 4 left, 3, 2, 1, and. Isn't that shift? That shift, cool. That feel shift, texture shift. And when I say strumming on the bass, Charlie Haden is playing 2, maybe at times 3 notes on the bass, fifths. And here's that shift. And Ornette experimenting with different sounds and textures and everything else on the horn, right? Really personal, idiosyncratic sound compared to Charlie Parker, Art Pepper, Paul Desmond, folks that are on the scene at this time. I love that lick. Woo! And there are chords in here, right? And I've listened to this 1,000 times, and I feel like it's coming from Charlie Haden when he's shifting. So I hear the 1 chord, 1 chord, 1 chord, 1 chord, 1 chord. You hear that shift? Back to the 1. And now swinging. So Charlie Haden is really creating the shape of the playing field, but he's doing that by responding to what Ornette's playing. So they're really co-creating the shape. It's amazing, and amazing trust. Don Cherry. The perfect playmate for Ornette Coleman, certainly. And did you hear how it seemed like Don Cherry led that move into the swing? I feel like he got there and bass and drums followed in that instance. And Billy Higgins played that great fill, and brought them back in. So it's really coming from everywhere, isn't it? Woo! That one was kind of subtle. Nobody really staked the claim on that shift. And so, oh man, I love that shift. Going to Charlie Haden. And that metallic sound, I think that's Billy Higgins basically playing on a cymbal stand. It's kind of what it sounds like, playing a stick on the cymbal stand. And this great Americana sound, this is, you know, what Charlie Haden brought to jazz and what he was a master at. Charlie Haden was born in Iowa and I think grew up in Missouri, and he literally had sort of an Americana folk band with his family. Like when he was a little kid, they had a regular radio show and they were playing mountain music, this kind of stuff. And this, I should know the name of this, but I think he's quoting sort of a famous old folk tune there. Melody back. And in the melody, it shifts between the swing and the folk strumming even more. Going to the strumming, and swing. Strumming. Here's the swing. Strumming. Really a great arrangement. Billy Higgins is doing so much to shape the volume when the shifts happen. It's just masterful drumming. If we listen to the horns here, they're not playing intricate bebop melodies. They're talking to each other. They're playing in a rhythmic way. It's perfect. And bluesy, right? Bluesy. Woo! I love this fade. And Charlie Haig. What a great ending. And that ba 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 doo ba doo da da ba doo ga doo gap. Billy Higgins played the entire thing on the snare drum, right? Like these guys rehearsed. They knew what was going on. Did they not know the form because they were a bunch of lackadaisical guys? They were a bunch of jazz musicians with berets and purple sunglasses? No, this was the aesthetic. Like this was the plan, is to be able to co-create art on the fly. You can't rehearse that. The same way rehearsing a conversation would make so little sense. Let's get together before the party. Let's figure out what we're going to talk about. And let's get together 8 or 10 times and rehearse the conversation so that when we get to the party, it's perfect. That party would suck. I don't want to be at that party. That's right. I mean, it's too much work, but it's like, it would be terrible. Everyone's worried about their lines. How about we go and we're human beings and we interact? That was what the Change of the Century was about. And I love this album. It's a really great one. And of course, Ornette went, so far and beyond and developing this kind of playing. I love this because it really speaks to the blues, which I know about, and we all know about it, right? And that great Americana sort of mountain music that's in there. But of course, swing, just that great swing feel. So it's really sort of all in here. So I'm not sure, Ornette Coleman is definitely someone that's pretty polarizing. And I must say, I don't listen to tons of Ornette Coleman, but this era, really speaks to me. And every time I hear it, I'm reminded like, oh man, I need to learn a lot more of this. And would I want to, does Jeff want to sound like Ornette Coleman? No, there's other people, I'm sort of patterning my playing after. But when I hear them, I hear so many elements that I would like to add to the palette that I have. So I'm not, like I said, not sure if you're an Ornette fan or not sure if you've ever listened to Ornette before. I'm not sure if you're like scared of Ornette because of things you've heard. I hope you enjoyed this piece, and just hearing the amazing structure, hearing how well rehearsed they were, but how they were able to rehearse and leave room for the humanity and leave room for the blues and leave room for whatever is going to happen, and understanding that would be greater than had they rehearsed rehearsed it to death. So I find it fascinating stuff. And, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this music. If you know a ton about Ornette, if you've read some of the books, all that, great. Please let me know. So, of course, that's what the comments are for here inside YouTube, inside Facebook. Thank you for being with me here today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. I hope I'll get to see you inside Jazzwire as well. Take the free trial. It's 10 seconds to sign up. You've heard me say that, by the way, about 45 times. So how about if you just go ahead and do it today? Check it out. See you there.